And we were talking about this when you were on break, and we were talking about, it's like, I'd say a number of different times. I have two interactions with Big Marv, and as a man, he was perfectly fine. I had no problem with him. I had a good conversation with him. He was very nice. He loves his kids. He seems like a great father. I don't have any personal issue with him. But I also, like, you got, the people in the chat who be like, well, why are you guys, they didn't do anything while they were here. They didn't do anything to bother anybody while here. Why you guys say, no, we're not going to do that? Because they were very antagonistic, or he was very antagonistic through social media, through quotes, things he did behind the scenes that absolutely would rub people the wrong way. So I understand why people were like, yeah, we get the hell out of here.
So one thing I'll say is we welcome in 1320 Kings Insider and creator of the Kings Beat, James Ham. Like, that's it though, right? Or are we doing this every time Marvin's here?
I think that's it. Okay. I think you get it out your system, and now we all move on with our lives.
You disagree?
James? Yeah, he's getting that the rest every day. Every time he walks in that building for the rest of his career. I watched it happen with Spencer Hawes. I watched it happen with Jason Terry.
No, I don't think
but
they're
the different. Yeah,
those
they're
aren't
different
the
than
same.
Marvin Bagley.
Oh, I don't know. Because Marvin did talk.
I'd rather boo Buddy than Marvin.
Yeah, but even when Marvin left, he did talk and he did speak out negatively about his experience in Sacramento. And that's part of it.
Okay, so I hope they boo the hell out of Tyrese next Wednesday, because he did the same thing. Y'all, if that's it, keep that energy and boo the hell out of Tyrese next week.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how that how that's handled. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know that Buddy Hield deserves to be booed. Buddy Hield put in a lot of time in Sacramento, and in the end,
let me ask you this then.
Yeah,
because I had a feeling you were going to say that. Who was more disruptive behind the scenes, away from Twitter, who was more disruptive to the team's chemistry, Buddy Hield or Marvin Bagley?
Oh, I mean, just on a day-to-day, Buddy Hield has a way of, he doesn't stop talking, right? But that's something you deal with.
Talking like fun, talking like get me out of here. I can't wait till I'm out of here. I can't wait till I'm gone. That's what he did. We don't have to pretend like this stuff didn't happen. That's what he did. Yes or no?
I mean, like, did I hear him say that specifically to me, like, multiple times? No. Now, whether he did that behind the scenes, like, there's enough evidence to say, yes, he did do a lot of like, politicking to get himself out the door. But, like, let's not forget that, like, Marvin Bagley Sr. co-signed on a nationally written piece that basically called out the head coach when he was winning and said that he needed to be fired, that his job was still on the line, that he was still on the hot seat, like 20 games into a season when the Kings were winning. So as far as like being disruptive, you have to remember the way that this thing spun out with, Dave Yeager leaving the team, the franchise, and Brandon Williams leaving the team. That's all predicated on a story that went out, I believe it was on Yahoo, from Chris Haynes, that basically laid out from Brandon Williams and from Marvin Bagley Sr. how Dave Yeager needed to be fired still. And that piece in itself, if that was so incredibly destructive, not just to that team, but that's the reason Luke Walton was the head coach the next year. It was that incident that started the disintegration of the relationships behind the scenes with management and the coaching staff.
And Damian, I would have answered that Marvin Bagley. And
I disagree.
And the thing about it, which is kind of what we talked about, because he never did what De'Aaron did when social media started coming up with his family, where De'Aaron was like, hey, I told my parents, I must give them your number. They're not going to ask me about this. That's what you do. That's what you want to say. Fine. But you guys don't associate me with none of that. He did it one time, and we never had to deal with that no more. Because Bagley never did that, he's linked to everything his dad did. He's linked to it. right or wrong, fair or foul,
it's
but he
fine.
is.
Okay.
I agree. And I'll say this too. Like, I'll go back even further. There was a point when TJ Fredette went nuts on Twitter about his brother not playing. His brother addressed it in the media, apologized to everyone involved, said it would never happen again, and it never happened again. And Marvin never once stood up for the people who was paying him a lot of money, $7, $8, $9 million a year. Never once stood up for those guys. Never once stood up for his coaching staff or his teammates while his dad was dragging them all day long on social media. In the middle of a game, his dad was putting out on Instagram, calling Dave Yeager Coach Yogurt and just trashing him in the middle of a game. Like like at some point, Marvin needed to be his own man and put his foot down and say, "Look, you are going to ruin my career, and I'm going to be run out of here. And the next time I show up here, I'm going to get booed because this is who they think we are." And that's where Marvin didn't separate. If you don't call it out, then you're basically saying it's okay.
Okay, that's all fine. So when the day after the when were the Sacramento Kings more relieved to trade Marvin Bagley or Buddy Hield?
Look,
come on, man! I feel like you
James,
two are dancing around the fact you didn't hear the same story I did.
James, I'll answer this, and you tell me if I'm wrong. And once again, fair or unfair, they were relieved to get Marvin and his dad the hell out of here. That's what I think was the case.
I heard the exact same story about Buddy Hield.
You said more relieved. They might have been more relieved to get them both out of there.
No, they
no
very
doubt.
well may have. The hell with both of them. Let's talk about the team that's won 6. Jesus Christ. Let's start with De'Aaron Fox and the Western Conference Player of the Week award and the great theater that this is presented with Tyrese Halliburton winning the Eastern Conference Player of the Week award, setting up the Rock Stone Cold Steve Austin grudge match for next Wednesday at the Golden One Center.
Bravo, NBA. Bravo. I mean, it's spectacular. First of all, De'Aaron Fox this was the 4th time he was a finalist already this season, the 4th out of 5 weeks that he was a finalist for the Western Conference Player of the Week. It was well-deserved. I know some people are showing Steph's stats and saying he went 3-0. Well, De'Aaron Fox is 6-0. And so, it's a weekly award, but this Kings team is rolling, and they're rolling because their star is playing like a star. And not only
won it too, didn't he? Didn't he win it the week prior?
He did. But if you see his stats for last week, you're like, yeesh. Yeah, I mean, he could have easily won it again. I think De'Aaron Fox is right in line to be considered for the Western Conference Player of the Month award. He has not won one of those. He won 2 of Western Conference Player of the Week awards last year. I think one in February, February 8th, and one in March sometime. So he is a guy that is on the radar. But what we're seeing here is a kid who's been basically one of the top 4 or 5 players in the Western Conference every week this season except for one. And to me, that's just incredible. He's put himself in the conversation for an All-Star game nod. He's put his team at the 5th seed right now, which is stunning. Everything he's doing is spectacular from what I can tell. Maybe he needs to improve on the defensive end, but that's a team issue as much as anything else. But I think this is a huge moment for the Kings, but also, the NBA is riding the wave, the Beam Team wave, and giving them some props.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I think about De'Aaron Fox and the way he's played this year, and it seems like there's different energy, different emotion that he's playing with. And James, you kind of talk to these guys in the locker room and see that. What do you attribute that to? Is he is he driven by the haters? Is he driven by negative comments? Does he want to prove to people who he is, and that's what's kind of pushing him right now? Or I know first and foremost he wants to win and be the best player he can, but does he hear all that stuff, and is he letting that be motivation to the way he's been come out playing this year?
When it comes to Fox, I really do just believe this is the perfect moment in time for him as a person, as a player. Mike Brown is a perfect coach. We got a kid who just got married. Everything in life is kind of going the right way. He just took a big step up and joined Clutch. Not to disparage his Chris Gaston and what he's done for Fox, but Clutch is a place where you go and you get a big shoe deal. It's a place where you go and you get a commercial. That's what you're doing when you go to an organization like that. Like he's having a moment here, and it's fun to watch. I mean, we're watching a kid mature and become the player he should be, and everyone takes that step at a different time, and some people they just miss it, right? They just like it should have happened here, it should have happened here, and then they get to the end of their career and they're still the player that that they became and not the player you hoped that they would be. I think Fox just shown us that like he's ready to take this next step and that he's on a path. And I don't know all of the reasons why it's happened this way, but again, give a big amount of credit for Mike Brown for like being a perfect coach for the kid, and then Monty McNair building a team around him that actually makes sense. This team makes so much sense, and there's still a piece or two away, but you see the piece or two where a lot of times you're looking and saying, man, this team needs like two or three more pieces. I don't know what they are, but they need two or three. We know exactly what this team needs, and it's a tribute to everybody involved here that's done a really good job of piecing this thing together.
Just a quick mention, KC. It is a 49ers game day. We've got 49ers coming up tonight against the Arizona Cardinals in Mexico City, presented by Lasher's Elk Grove Dodge and the Elk Grove Auto Mall, or online at elkgrovedodge.com. James, Kenny pointed out a tweet, or excuse me, Kenny pointed out a quote from De'Aaron last night talking about he feels like he can get any shot he wants right now. And it's a very accurate statement, especially when you look at the last two games that he's had. But he seems to be playing with a high level of confidence. And this feels like it's different by the player. But for De'Aaron specifically, what do you think came first? Confidence headed into the season, or is his current play dictating his level of confidence?
Yeah, I think his current play is dictating the level of confidence. And I'll tell you, like when he said that statement, it sounds cocky, it sounds arrogant, which is something like he was always
Sounds
cocky.
right, too.
Yeah, as a young kid, I totally. That's the deal. It sounds right. And my son had flicked on the Spurs game, the Kings Spurs game, and I was just watching back. You know how many open shots they get? It doesn't even matter who they're playing. They are getting so many open looks. And so when Fox says that, sure, like is he hitting is a level of difficulty hard on some of his shots? Yes, but like when he's shooting a wide open three, he's at like 48%. And he just needs to keep doing that as opposed to dribbling and shooting, like shooting off the dribble with his perimeter shot, which is around like 26%. But like the spacing is so incredible with this team that I can imagine him. It's almost like a batter standing up there and saying, like, look, it feels like they're throwing a softball to me every time. Because when he's looking and like going in and out and like dicing teams up, that's because his teammates are creating this amazing amount of space, and they're all doing it in their own way. So Sabonis is, setting these mean picks all over the court, and the dribble handoff, him and Herter are like 1 and 2 in the league and DHOs. Those are things that they matter. Having a guy like Sabonis matters. Having a guy like Herter, who isn't standing at 23 feet, like waiting to shoot. He's standing at 26, 27 feet, and everyone has to respect him. And you see him, he just keeps stepping out further. And his guy keeps going out further with him. And so I'll tell you, you go back and watch these games, there are like half of their shots are wide open. Malik Monk. How in the world is Malik Monk, who's a 40% or 39% shooter for his career from three, how does he get so wide open? And it's because the offense is humming, and that's what this team looks like right now.
Yeah, to go back on the Fox point as well, we talk about the confidence he's playing with. I think a lot of that goes, and I'm a big believer in this, goes back to he put in the work. He's that confidence was born in June, July. being on the honeymoon with Luke Louds, things of that nature.
That was a funny sentence.
you know, and his wife, by the
Okay.
way,
Okay.
Rick Fox's wife, not Luke Louds' wife. But that's you put in that work, and you get to October, and you're like, I'm as prepared as anything is anybody could ever be for this. I'm ready to go. I say it all the time when I talk to the kids. It's like a test in school. If you didn't study, if you crammed, 2 hours before, and that test gets put in front of you, you're not going to be confident.
You
But
got to get personal.
you're not going to be confident, right? But if you studied and you did your work before all the days and weeks leading up to it, I put anything in front of me. It doesn't matter. I know it. And I think that's what's going on with him. And to your point as well, and your point, Damien, the results are also giving him, confirmation and affirmation to all the work that he put in this offseason.
Yeah, there's just a zen to his play. You're just watching him. He just looks calm. He looks relaxed. He knows exactly what he wants to do. That play he had on Jaden Ivey, where he got Jaden Ivey backpedaling and he just abused him and then went for the tomahawk. It was just like, holy cow. Like, I want to see more of that. But talk about a player who, since the moment, knew that he could lay the ball up, but instead went for the crowd. He did something for the crowd there to get everyone off their feet and going nuts. And like, hey, I'll help you out. You guys go ahead and carry us home. And like that type of play is something that he has kind of shied away from in the past. No, he's ready. He's ready for all of it. And you can see the confidence building with everybody. They're all feeding off the confidence, which is fun.
The whole team, yeah, you're absolutely right, Hammer. The whole team feels confident. And another player who was beaming, if you will, last night was Harrison Barnes. I think your report before the game maybe have flown under the radar just a little bit, but you had some of your people talking to you saying a day after the Athletic reported otherwise, that the Sacramento Kings are in fact not in trade discussions with anybody regarding Harrison Barnes, and he steps out and has his best game of the season, and now he seems to be a guy who is also playing with a tremendous level of confidence. He's got the most deadpan post-game press conferences, I think, in history, but he's strung together a really nice last couple of games here after you guys were criticizing him. I was. You guys were.
Wow.
Yeah, I like fully believe that Harrison Barnes has turned a corner and he's back in the flow of it. I don't know what it was that had him like just searching early in the season, just like not knowing where he was supposed to fit in and almost overthinking it, which is not something that you would think from a guy who's a 10-year vet. But what we're seeing right now is just, it's crazy. He's up to 26.5% on his threes after I think he shot 16% up to game 9. So like he's increasing that. His points per game have skyrocketed. The 27 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. His steal numbers have skyrocketed, which is not something he usually does. And even the last 6 games, he's been so incredibly like efficient as an offensive player. He's averaging 0.5 turnovers per game in that 6-game stretch. He's just not making mistakes. He's got 3 turnovers in 6 games. And, he's been aggressive. He's got a bunch of assists in that same amount of time. And it's almost like we're seeing like the dominoes fall. Like one guy after another, like all of a sudden is added into the mix and like finding their place. And I think it's just a matter of time before everyone is kind of firing away. And, we've seen it. The 153-point game is one way to see it. But with Harrison specifically, we even got a little bit of a smile, like late in it last night where, he talked about how the fans have been through it and he is happy to see them like get to see some success, to have a team to cheer for that's consistent, that's not just like leading them on and teasing them and then losing 9 in a row. It's one of those things where you're starting to see a guy figure out his place. And, from everything I've been hearing inside, the Kings are not talking about trading him at all. He is a guy that they don't know what's going to happen at the end of the season. They've had plenty of conversations with his people. They have an open line of communication with his people. But for right now, like there's no extension coming that I've seen or anything else. But they certainly believe that he's 30 years old. He's got a ton of game left in him, and he's a player that means a ton more to that locker room and to the community than just the points and the assists and the rebounds and all that stuff. So I think everyone's happy to see him come back to be the player that he has been for this team for the last like 4.5 years. But I'm happy for him too, because you can feel like sort of the weight lifted off his shoulders, where he doesn't feel like he's got to go up there and be the guy that has a conversation with the media after you just got your butt kicked again. It's a lot funner to go a lot more fun to go walk up and talk to the media when you just club somebody than it is when you've lost 5 in a row and somebody's got to go out there and take the bullet.
Hey, real quick, Casey, you said something that caught my attention right there. Based on what you've heard, do you think based on what you've heard, is the current plan for Harrison Barnes to play out the season?
Well, I mean, things can change. Like they can change on a dime. I mean, this is the NBA. So yeah, I think right now
you said because you said they're aware of what happens at the end of the season. Like they're aware of the consequences of losing him for nothing.
Yeah, but I've also like conversations I've had, they are also very, very aware about the delicate balance that is chemistry in the NBA and what trading a guy like that could mean to this franchise, what it could mean to the vibe that's happening right now, even if you're getting a better player or even if you're getting a player on a longer term contract that's younger. Like there's such a delicate balance, and if you want to go out there and make a move, you better be right. And Monty McNair, all these guys, they got a lot of riding on this season, and so does Harrison. Like people forget, like this is a guy in a contract here. You don't expect a guy to shoot 16% from three for the first 10 games of the season when he's in a contract here. You expect him to all of a sudden show up, and by the end of the season, his numbers will be there. And then they have to decide what they're going to do. Now, like people are asking in the chatty house, if you read my story from today, which I posted just a little while ago, I don't think there's the same vibe going on with Richaun Holmes. Like if they can find Richaun Holmes a new home and a way to make this team better and sort of like add that extra piece that they need, like I think that they would listen. But there is this tightrope that you're walking with, trying to keep the team intact, trying to build, trying to, even if you add pieces, like adding something that could bolster what you're already doing, not change the direction of what you're doing. Like there's a big difference between having another point guard like Tyrese Halliburton and having a big man like Domantas Sabonis. That move doesn't just trade two players. It changes out the entire identity of your team and allows you to do totally different things on the court. That's not what the Kings would be looking to do, in my opinion, at this point. Like they would, if they're going to make a move, it would be to, bring in pieces that help them and help do what they're doing, but fill some of the voids that they're lacking.
Yeah. And that's the way I would go about it too. Obviously I'd like to have Rashawn here if it works out, but if there's a deal that helps them, you got to make that move. But with Harrison, like, yeah, you just kind of, I don't think there's a trade out there that would help you enough to move on from what you have in him right now. Like there's any trade, there's a trade out there, that, hey, Giannis, we don't know if we can re-sign him. We want to get Harrison Barnes. Yeah, sure. But,
do it.
But if you're talking, John Wall and Norman Powell, I'm just throwing random names out there. Like, nah, that's fine. I'll write this out with Harrison and see what I got with him this year. And now you got him playing really well and starting to get into the groove of things. We talked about it earlier in the season when he was struggling, Damian as well, is this team is better with a good Harrison Barnes, not swapping him out for KZ or Terrence Davis or something like that. Like this team is better with Harrison making it work, because not only is he that good of a ball player? But then it keeps everybody else in their specific roles and makes his team even deeper.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, like I've never been a proponent of trading Harrison Barnes to trade Harrison Barnes. Like you're going to trade him because you feel like you're going to lose him for nothing. You're going to trade him because you get a better player or a younger player under a longer contract back in return. Like these are things that like we've talked about plenty of time, right? Like how do you make this team better? How do you keep improving? And I think losing Harrison Barnes has always been one of those things where you need more Harrison Barnes and not less. You need more players like him, more players are of that ilk in the league. And so, yeah, but on the Rashawn Holmes side, it's not that, I think Holmes is no longer an NBA player or that he's just a bad guy and you got to get rid of him. I don't think any of that. I just think that you now have so much depth. He's a pick and roll specialist. He's a guy that really loves to play in that style. You don't play that style at all. He doesn't fit the style of play that you are doing, this motion offense. He's not a passing big man. He's not the true rim protector. He cannot play alongside Sabonis, it doesn't seem like. And so for him, it's more like finding a place that makes sense for him and a player that makes sense for Sacramento in return. And he's already out of the lineup. He's already on the sidelines. And you already have Chimezi Metu and Alex Len and even Nemias Queta that can play that position as well. So even if you do a swap and you don't bring back a center, you bring back a power forward or a small forward that has shot blocking like capabilities, that would make a lot of sense for this team.
Bet you guys feel bad about the way you talked about Harrison earlier this year,
Yeah,
don't you?
You feel bad about it.
I don't. My conscience is clear. I'm a Harrison Barnes guy. James, is yesterday a good game or a bad game?
It depends on who you talk to. Like realistically, I think the way that Mike Brown handled it is a perfect way because Mike Brown is not happy about what happened yesterday. And he's happy they got a win. And, you heard De'Aaron Fox say, I'd rather learn a lesson in a win than a loss, right?
Great line, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, like something's gotta change. Because if it doesn't, and again, I just wrote about this a few minutes ago, if you think you can walk in and play that kind of defense against the Memphis Grizzlies, I don't care if Ja and Desmond Bane are there or not, or the Atlanta Hawks and their high-powered guards, or the Boston Celtics, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. That if you're going to play that type of defense, you're going to get clubbed. And that's what Mike Brown's trying to say. Like, look, we pulled it off against San Antonio. We pulled it off against, against Detroit, but we're not winning a game like that against the Boston Celtics. We're going to get destroyed if we don't play defense. And, you go to Boston. Boston has the number 1 rated offense in the league. They're number 14 in defense. That's what Mike Brown's asking for. He's not asking for number 3 in defense and number 1 in offense. He said, just be reasonable. Just do your job part of the way. So we stop getting in foul trouble. So we stop giving up. I don't know. I think the problem that you have when it really is like it cements what it is that's wrong with your team. It's when guys who aren't good at all or aren't good shooters at all, which, again, like Kevin Knox has been a huge bust in the league, and, throwing a bunch of threes. And Killian Hayes came in with the worst true shooting in the league. And I was sitting next to Anthony Slater. He showed me, he's like, do you see this? Killian Hayes on the season he'd taken more shots than points scored. Like I think he had missed more shots than points scored on the season. He had been so bad, and he came out and busted you. And that's because when a team believes that you're not good defensively, they come in with a little hop in their step, and they build, the confidence builds from one player to the next. And next thing you know, you give up all those 3-pointers to the Detroit Pistons. Even though I didn't think the Kings defensively on the perimeter were that bad, but once you start hitting the 3 ball, all of a sudden now they start attacking the lane. So yeah, this team needs some pieces.
I know you have a response to that. We'll come back. We'll talk more about, or maybe you don't. We'll come back.
You guys aren't wrong. They have to play better defense.
We'll come back.
I don't dispute that.
Yeah.
We'll look ahead to this Memphis game as well and talk more Kings basketball with the creator of the Kings Beat, James Ham, here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. This is my fault. Sorry.
Man, are you kidding
Hit the
me?
thumbs up while you're here, man. I think we got almost 500 on YouTube. Yeah, 492 just on YouTube. So if you could hit the thumbs up, get us past 300, man, that would be awesome.
Don't say that.
Just wanna address Cole and a couple other people real quick. My guy Cole. Nobody was ever saying that Marvin Bagley should check his dad. It's never what anybody said. What I said, and I think James said it and Dame said it as well, is you can disassociate yourself with some of the things that he says on social media. You can simply say, it's not about checking, that's his father. He ain't checking nobody, right? But you say, hey, that's my dad. He has his own Twitter. He, says what his views are. They don't represent me. If you guys want to know how I feel about something, I speak for myself, and I handle it that way. That's all you got to do. You ain't. I wish Reese would try to check me, so he ain't checking nobody, right? But you in the media and in public,
limo rides are over with. You try to check me, son.
in the media and in the public, you say, look, man, he's his own man. I'm my own man. I have my own voice. So if he tweets out, trade my son immediately, that doesn't mean that I want to be traded. You could ask me about that, and I'll tell you how I feel. That's all you got to do. And he never did that.
Sean Morant's already been upgraded. Sean Morant's been upgraded to doubtful.
Y'all trying to get buckets.
Jaw's trying to get out there against the Western Conference Player of the Week.
I'll say this, like when you say that about Marvin, there does come a point where you have to say something to your dad. You do have to actually go, hey, man, you're really making life difficult on me. Like, can you stop? Can you not do that? Can you not get in a battle with De'Aaron Fox or De'Aaron Fox's dad or any of that stuff? Like, there comes a point where, like, Marvin had to separate himself and be his own man. And I'm not saying tell your dad you don't want to be friends with him anymore, that you don't want to come to Thanksgiving. I'm saying, like,
you're not my dad anymore.
Yeah, there has to be, like, some responsibility because, like, for as much as Marvin Bagley represented the Sacramento Kings, Marvin Bagley Sr. represented his son. I mean, you got the same name. It's not like you can even hide from it. You can put Coach Bagley or whatever you want on it, like just call yourself the maestro and walk around town. I don't know what that's all about, but, at some point you do have to, it is someone's responsibility to say, okay, look, we have an irritant and, like, I don't know what to do about the irritant. It's like, well, it's your dad. You don't think you can say something? Like, you do have to say something. So I don't know.
And even if you do say something, right? Like, because people are like, check your dad. You ain't gotta be disrespectful.
No.
You can have a conversation with your dad. Hey, dad, come on, man. This is kind of making my job a little difficult. Can you ease back a little bit or anything like that? However you say, you ain't gotta stop fucking tweeting. You ain't got to do nothing crazy.
Well, that and I've also said this too. Like, Marvin's a very respectful kid. I've always found him to be, like, a very nice young guy. Always respectful. He's a total introvert. He's very quiet. His other boys, I've heard nothing but good things as well. Like, it's not like I'm saying he's a bad dad or anything else. Just, like, there comes a point when you're raising kids in their own sports where you have to let them make their own way. It just is what it is. Like, you can't keep asking a coach for playing time or to make him a captain or to give him a different role. Like, at some point your kid needs to show up and do what he has to do to either stay on the court or to be a better player. And it has to come from within.
Could y'all hit the thumbs up, please? It's cool. Monday Night Football is doing a profile on the girl who draws Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh,
amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Some of her, oh man, they've been so good. Some of them are just off the charts good. I feel for her. That's a lot of drawing.
Okay. Thank you. We're working late today, James. We're on till 4:11. We're gonna break at normal time though.
What?
Ohio
Going
State
long?
versus San Diego State and Maui. That's gonna be a good game tonight.
Oh, I just got the files from Donnie. I'm excited to put these together.
Ooh wee. Ooh wee.
Got a new T-shirt coming, James.
Yeah, I'll say that like this quote, like from NBA young.
What are you
I would
talking?
take, but not for my favorite sports team. That's not what we're talking about.
Dog is so extra, dude. He's so extra. He's got y'all hook, line, and sinker.
That's an employer, man.
That dude is so extra.
What are you
Uh, yeah.
Nobody's asking anyone to take a bullet. Just please stop saying I want to be traded. That's all I'm asking. It's not a bullet. It's just saying stop saying trade my son, please.
It's not being disrespectful to a head coach in the middle of a game. Like, hey, bro, how about this? It's not about you. You don't play for the team. It's like the we thing that I hear on the broadcast. We, like, hey, you don't play for the team.
I don't have a problem with saying we.
Yeah, no,
Part of the family.
no,
I'm a full-on De'Aaron Fox fan.
yeah.
I don't know what to say.
I love Herder too. He's so funny on social media. Light that MF beam. Like,
All right, come on, buddy. Just say it.
yeah.
Let's go, Beam. Let's go, Beam.
Yeah.
Oh, Drapes. I think Drapes.
Let's go.
I think Drapes had a pair of dunks on. I didn't get to talk to him. I saw him from a distance. I was like, oh. All right, KD.
Good point, Rory. Vivek did say this is our team. Yeah.
This is your team.
No.
Rory, he also, once he told you it was your team, he fired your head coach that you wanted to keep.
Oh.
Just saying.
What?
He asked who I'm passing the torch to, and I don't know. Fox is probably up there. Tatum actually is very, very, very high on that list. But Russ is still my guy. Until I stop dropping money on honorthegift.com, like Russ is my guy.
Hey, Jason Tatum is Larry Hughes's godson.
Are we in commercial break? God almighty.
I was waiting for you to fire us back up.
We were gone so long. I was like, God, are we on the air? How long has this been going on?
One day,
man.
we're doing D'Lo and KC live from the Maui Invitational. One day.
Okay.
Somebody needs to pay for
I'm going to take away your iPad.
Oh, you don't want to? You ain't got to go. I'll go. I got Comrex.
Ain't nobody sending us. I've said this before. We could broadcast anywhere we want to. No one will care. Literally no one will know. Hey, why is there a waterfall behind D'Lo and KC?
Waterfall.
Ah, well, D'Lo really figured out that StreamYard thing, didn't he? No one will care what we do. We'll bring James with us. We'll put the little white sunblock on James's nose so he could hang out at the Maui Invitational with us.
That's right.
1320, Kings insider and creator of the Kings Beat. His Sunday musings became Monday musings, so I'm a little behind on my reading. We should note this. We got this during the commercial break. This is going to sound funny, but there's steps to this. Ja Morant was upgraded. He was originally out. Now he's been upgraded to doubtful. Now that might not mean anything for tomorrow's game against Sacramento, but it probably means something bigger for like the next week or so. Is I don't think they expected Ja Morant back for a little while, but he's obviously progressed enough to where they can not rule him completely out and just list him as doubtful.
Need him tomorrow.
Everybody else is still ruled out. Desmond. Okay, he wants to test. Ja Morant wants to test himself against the Western Conference
He's
player.
like, hold on, little Kings team. We the big dogs. You the little puppies.
We got the Memphis
the big
Beam.
dogs.
We about how many teams are frantically trying to create a beam right
Well,
now?
look, a lot of them. But I'm gonna tell you this. I'm a guy where if you talk, you gotta dish it out. And we talk about we chant light the beam when we up by 4 with 40 seconds left, and beating the Nets. We're lighting the beam. We talking about light the beam with start of the fourth quarter. A team like Memphis, a crowd like Memphis, Phoenix, they're going to be beating the Kings, and they're going to talk about light that beam. And social media is going to be, light the beam. Like, you got to be able to wear it, y'all. You got to be able to wear it.
Good point.
Because we talk it. You got to be able to wear it. I'm ready for it.
As long as those suckers 110 miles over on 80 don't start chanting it at the Chase Center.
Those guys.
You're acting like the Kings aren't going to win the next 76 straight games.
Good point. That's a good point.
Or 67 straight games.
Counting the playoff.
I don't know what you're talking about. Like, they're just going to keep winning the whole time. We'll never have to face that reality.
That's a great point, James. What has really become clear in the 6-game winning streak is that the Sacramento Kings are never losing again.
Ever.
Yeah.
No.
Like ever. Like Adam Silver is coming up with contingency plans with what to do when the Sacramento Kings win their 7th straight title and have won, that would be like their, I don't know, their 600th game in a row that they've won.
What will we argue about then? Like, what will we complain about?
I don't even know what we do.
No, we'd find something to complain about. What would it be?
Probably would. Probably Harrison, to be honest with you. We probably still complain about Harrison Barnes. Harrison down to averaging 30 points per game, guys. I don't know.
Game up. Should we move on from him?
Should we move on from him?
It would be the comparison of who is the greatest dynasty, the Kings or the Golden State Warriors. I think that would be your question of the day.
Good. It would be
Kings and the Kings.
Which Kings team is the true dynasty? This version of the version in a couple of years.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what
wait.
This is.
I can't wait for these times.
We've said this. Don't let this team be good, man. We are going to be the biggest, most obnoxious group of individuals you're ever going to find.
I'm gonna find your biggest fan or your biggest parent on a team, and I'm gonna at them and tell them to come light the beam. Every team, Mr. Halliburton, I might tell you to come light the beam next Wednesday.
Oh no. No, you can't go at Mr. Halliburton. He's the nicest man ever.
Mr. Halliburton is awesome. That's my
home. Is that John? I think it's John Halliburton.
John.
Yeah, he is
fantastic. He's
literally one of the nicest men you'll ever meet. And
Luke Walton. We can tag Luke Walton to go light the beam.
You can tag Luke. Yeah, who they play on Tuesday? Who we want to light the beam? What's his name? My boy Dylan Brooks. People seem to not like Dylan Brooks.
Oh,
make him go.
Memphis, right? Justin Timberlake, come light the beam. That's what we'll do. We'll just find something that ties into each city. Justin Timberlake, come light the beam.
Oh, that'd be great. Just randomly call people out. Dominique, we're gonna need you to light the beam. Yeah.
Oh man, tremendous. James, it seems like to go back to the Western Conference Player of the Week. We've seen De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk take games over. We've seen De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis take games over late. Last night, we saw De'Aaron Fox and Kevin Huerter take that game over late. But the constant in all those pairings is De'Aaron Fox. And I believe it is a dumb question. It's a dumb remark, but people love to make this in basketball. Are we willing to acknowledge that De'Aaron Fox makes his teammates better now? That's always been the thing. Who does he make better? Who does he make better? Well, is he making players better now?
Yes, he's making everyone better. I don't know what people are missing here. Even if he's not
perhaps the talent around him got a little better as well, which is helping him allow these players to be better.
It might be one of those help me help you things,
There you go.
It might be one of those.
Okay.
He's definitely making everyone around him better. And again, it doesn't even matter if he's got a bunch of assists. His impact on the court, the way that he's attacking, he's getting into the lane and opening up everything. It's just making everyone better. And, there are going to be games where he has an off night. There are going to be games where he turns the ball over a few times, too many. But overall, like, his play this year has just been off the charts. I mean, his PER is nuts. I was looking his win shares on the season. I think he's at the same amount of win shares as he finished last season with already. So
What
yeah,
is that? What does that even mean?
No, it sounds
What the
good.
hell is what is that?
it's an estimation of the number of wins contributed by a player, right? So De'Aaron Fox in his career, he's been an okay win share guy. You can do win shares per let me see I'm on his stats. Yeah, so you can do win shares, like you can look at how much he contributes to a win. So his offensive win shares right now are at 1.6. Last season he posted a 1.5 for the season. So he's already had a bigger impact. Win shares per 48 minutes, he's at like 0.206, which is basically 4 times what it was last year. He's just a much better player. He's just like adding to the wins and a bigger part of what's happening, and a bigger part of the outcome of the game, the positive impact of the game. And like his numbers overall are just crazy. Like his true shooting number is 651. I mean, that's off the charts. It's last year he finished it like 549. So you can just do the math there. He's like, 8% better or 10% better than he was last year. It's crazy.
James, he's averaging 25 points a game, and the Kings are 9-6.
Unless you got some baseball card stats, James, I don't know what to do with all.
I got baseball card stats too.
PERs and
PR.
Why are there 2 different types of QBR? They couldn't even make up their mind of what QBR meant. So
Isn't
they just
one
created.
of them just ESPN?
I don't know, Kenny.
I think one of them are just ESPN.
Well, that and PER is player efficiency rating, and it's a formula created by John Hollinger when he was with ESPN.
Oh,
so
yeah.
John couldn't even.
That.
Yeah, John just is snarky.
He did talk last night during the game, didn't he? Wouldn't it be just on brand for the Kings to lose to Detroit at home? Yeah, like old tweets revisited.
So. He was absolutely waiting. He oh no, that wasn't him. My bad. I was about to say he called Terry Davis, but that was Mitch.
That was Mitch, yeah.
Sorry, John. I got you confused with Mitch in New Jersey. But James.
This was me the whole time James was talking about numbers. just looking at James read numbers.
I love numbers.
Going on here. I know you do. As you could. Numbers can be confusing.
But one thing that you can't quantify in numbers, James, that we talked about a little bit on this show today. De'Aaron Fox gets a little breakaway, bangs out, yells, goes crazy at the crowd. Malik Monk gets an and one, yells, gets a technical, and gets thrown out. But he yells, right? Like he's hyped up. Harrison Barnes gets a little drop pass from Kevin Huerter, slams it home, and yells at the top of his lungs. We here on D-Lo and KC are attributing that to this Golden One Center crowd and how they have injected a different energy into that arena. The Kings playing well has helped, but at the same time, it feels like the energy that the fans and that arena has kind of seeped into these players, because we haven't seen emotion like that from Fox since the COVID year, and Harrison Barnes since
ever.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do you feel that sense of these guys are kind of getting swept up in the energy that's going through that Golden One Center when they're playing right now?
Oh, I totally think so. But you got to see what they look like when they're on the road. Like, can they create their own energy? That's always a problem, because it's not just like an opposing fan base. So you go to Memphis, you're probably going to get a pretty good crowd, right? Although they do have a bunch of banged up guys, and it's right before the holidays. You're still going to get a pretty good crowd, and you can feed off of even negative energy. You go to Atlanta, and that place is never drawn well. I don't know how many fans are going to be there the night before Thanksgiving. Like, what do you do when it is like the bubble, when it is like, cardboard cutouts? You got to create your own energy and like carry that joy with you. And I think that's a big deal. I think you go to Boston It doesn't matter. Boston's always packed. You're going to have a great time no matter what, and you can feed off their negativity and you can feed off, just the buzz in the building. But yeah, this team is going to have to prove that they can do that on the road. It's really good because this team has been better on the road than they were at home before this streak. And all of a sudden, they're starting to protect their home court, which has been a problem for this team for the last 5 years. Something that Alvin Gentry just beat the drum on all the time. How could we be this bad at home? Show some pride. These are your people. What are you doing? And so I think we're finally starting to see it. And look, the fact that the Kings just sold out a game against the Detroit Pistons on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's the biggest crowd ever. That's the biggest crowd ever in Golden One.
Explain that, James. How did that happen? Not the sellout, but it's the biggest crowd ever.
Yeah. Okay. So from what I heard, they added a few seats to Golden One, which I'm not even sure what those seats are. They added I heard something like 27 seats. But for the first time that I can remember, I don't know if they've had to do this before, they actually had standing room only tickets. And so not only once they get to a 100% sellout, they have a special group of tickets or standing room only that you can buy. I don't know what the costs are. It shouldn't be that expensive. But in Golden One, what does that mean? You go stand in the bar upstairs and watch from above on the bridge? That's fun. So yeah. So what I know that they were they actually sold.
They do that.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. I mean, I totally I get it. I love that they're able to expand a little bit because I didn't know that they could.
Well, snuck a couple in past the fire marshal, man. No big deal. And James, I had an idea. I had a belief that if that was the biggest crowd ever, it might come crumbling down. There could be a new champion come next Wednesday.
Yeah.
A week from Wednesday.
Yeah, when you're talking about Tyrese coming into town, Buddy coming into town. But again, I'll
and
tell you this.
Indiana Pacers team.
Yeah. But Indiana never draws. So, there are certain teams, it doesn't matter whether they're good.
Tyrese Halliburton before, though.
They will this time. Yeah, but I would say that it doesn't. There are certain teams that it really doesn't matter whether they're good or bad. They don't draw. So I've told you guys, every time Philly's in town, not only is it a sellout, but there's at least 3 fights in the stands every single time. Philly fans, they bring their hatred with them wherever they go. It's packed in their suitcase. And so you get that, but certain teams, even Brooklyn in the past has never drawn well. There's probably 5 or 6 teams around the league that don't draw for other teams. And I think for some people, the Kings have been that team. They don't draw that well because people are well, it's just the Kings.
Boston and Chicago draw really well. Chicago is
crazy. Yeah.
Chicago's nuts.
Yeah. All the Michael Jordan jerseys in the crowd. Yeah, it's absolutely wild. Yeah. And I mean,
yeah,
Boston too is a sea of green. I like it. I like having a bipartisan crowd where they're going at it. That's always fun. And Sacramento crowd's always been really, it's not only is it a great crowd, noisy, but it's a friendly crowd. I mean, Sacramento's a friendly place.
It is.
Got great food at the Golden One Center too.
No cotton candy.
What's the no cotton candy, as we learned? What's the in 60 seconds, right, Jesse? We're 54. What's the next couple of days look like for the Kings? We'll see you Wednesday, but what do the next couple of days look like for the Kings?
Yeah, this is going to be prove it. This is going to be that moment where you just did good things at home, but now you got 3 games and 4 nights surrounding Thanksgiving. Show me what you got. Show me that it's not just a home cooking thing, that it's not just a light the beam thing. Go out there and, win 1 out of 2, win 2 out of 3. Somehow you sweep that thing. All of a sudden, this is the hottest ticket in town. It should already be the hottest ticket in town. Go get your tickets.
It feels like it might be, man. Check out Monday Musings from James Ham over at the King.